Hello and good evening. Today it is Sunday, March 20th, 2022. And for this video today, I am going to be discussing the Edmonton Oilers because according to Edmonton Oilers reporter Tom Gazzola, supposedly the Edmonton Oilers are going back to their royal blue uniforms again next season. And if you are a longtime viewer of mine, you know how I feel about it. I am over the moon happy. I am so happy that the Oilers are going back to royal blue. You have no idea. I mean, I know there are people out there that prefer their new uniforms, and to each their own, but to me, the Oilers being in full-time orange is just not right. Ever since their very first game as a National Hockey League franchise, the Edmonton Oilers have always been either royal or navy blue, not orange. And back in the day, I believe the Edmonton Oilers only wore orange for the first two seasons they existed in the World Hockey Association back in the early 1970s, where they wore their orange jersey, which they brought out as a throwback about 6 to 7 years ago, as I'm filming this. And its white counterpart that had an orange shoulder yoke, which their reverse retro last season was loosely based off of. It was essentially a color flip of their original white jersey with the royal blue shoulder yoke, just flipped in orange, but it is very, very close to the WHA white jersey, with the Alberta Oilers white jersey rather with the orange shoulder yoke. The only difference is obviously the striping is from the 80s uniforms and not the original design, with the pair of orange stripes on the sleeve. I believe it was the main stripes royal blue, and then the pair of stripes on the white WHA Alberta Oilers jersey were orange. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's correct, but if I'm wrong, hey, let me know. But yeah, the Oilers going back to blue is the right thing. I have been complaining about it since the NHL switched from Reebok to Adidas. Like, Jesus Christ, why did the Oilers think it was a good idea to switch to that new fluorescent orange and navy blue? I don't dislike the shade of orange. What I dislike is the fact that their main jersey is now orange. Now, if their home jersey, their current one, was their third jersey, truth is, I would be fine with it. But as the primary jersey, in my opinion, it's a massive, massive no-no. Because to me, the Oilers should always wear blue. I mean, they should at least have a navy blue flip of their home jersey as their home uniform, if that's the direction they want to stay in. But the fact that they're going back to royal blue outright next season, according to this rumor, makes me exceptionally happy. Their royal blue jersey and its matching away, which their away jersey is basically the exact same as what it was before, except for the darker blue, the brighter orange, and the slightly different letter and numbering font, because the royal blue jersey and its away, the matching away jersey that the Oilers went back to in the early 2010s on a full-time basis until the switch to Adidas, those jerseys actually had a small white outline and then then an orange outline. So they had a double outline, where when they switched over to Adidas, they were just single outlined numbers, and the player names also had an outline on them as well. Which, if I'm remembering from the top of my head, the royal blue jersey and its white counterpart, the 80s uniforms were just single color, no outline color on the player names, the lettering of the player names rather. So yeah, so the away jersey obviously didn't change much with the Adidas switch over, and that's why I've always liked it in the Adidas era, because it's so close to what it replaced. I mean, it's obviously different, but it's close to the old one, which I could live with. But orange being the full-time, I've had such an issue with it, and it's been disappointing to see the Oilers go in that direction. And truth is, I don't like using the Oilers using the 80s striping on the new orange jersey, because I find that the orange and the white not touching together on the orange jersey just doesn't work. And the navy blue, I find, looks black on their home jersey as well, which is also something else I don't care for either. to me, the 80s uniforms are by far and away the best look for the Edmonton Oilers. But according to this reporter, Tom Gazzola, here's what the Oilers are going to be doing next season. So next season, supposedly they are going back to royal blue for their home and away jerseys permanently, which in my opinion, they shouldn't have changed at all. And I found it especially interesting that after retiring the royal blue jersey for just one season, they brought it back for their 40th anniversary in, I believe, the 2018-19 season. But what they're going to do, according to this reporter, is they'll go back to the royal blue 80s uniforms home and away next season. They will have a reverse retro that will be a lot like what we saw with the Blasty jersey that Calgary had as their reverse retro, where it won't be a true reverse retro, but it'll be more of a remixed jersey. So they are planning on bringing back the 2000s alternate jersey, which I gotta admit, it is one of the coolest alternate jerseys ever designed, in my opinion. It was such a cool design back then, and I can hardly wait to see it come back in some way, shape, or form next season. But according to him as well, Tom Gazzola, I believe that the Oilers will have a navy blue reverse retro design next season with the futuristic oil gear drop, the Todd McFarlane logo on the front, which that's exciting. And one interesting little thing, though, according to Tom Gazzola, the Oilers are planning on keeping their navy blue alternate jersey for at least one more season. So that seems to be a trend with the NHL teams now, where when they go to a different look for home and away, or change their home and away jerseys rather, they keep their existing third jersey, or they demote a previous home jersey to an alternate for one season, then retire it, which I can live with that. I mean, the navy blue jersey, I think it's interesting that the Oilers took advantage of the orange and navy blue color scheme change and to use that as an opportunity to bring out something new. But their current third jersey, that jersey, besides the logo, I love the monochrome logo on that jersey, but the design is just so dull and bare, and the monochrome just doesn't work for me. I think what they needed to do was they needed to have some form of thicker striping on the sleeves, and something a little bit more significant for waist striping on the waist, around the waist of the jersey, rather than that little bit of orange trim on the bottom of it. That jersey's just a bit too plain and dull, in my opinion. And I just, besides the logo, that's the only redeeming part of that uniform, in my opinion. So if it sticks around for one more season as an alternate, fine. But I hope that the Oilers do retire it. I mean, I don't know how you viewers out there feel about it, but truth is, I would rather the Oilers keep their current home jersey and make that a third jersey than keep their current navy blue third. I mean, I think it's cool that the Oilers took advantage of their updated color scheme to bring out a new navy blue alternate, but I don't like it. And at least the orange jersey would be a little bit more of an alternative than just a darker blue, especially when they're supposedly going to have two navy blue jerseys next season if the reverse retro rumor is also true. I gotta admit, though, I was hoping for a white reverse retro of that Todd McFarlane alternate from the 2000s that the Oilers had. I agree with those who say that would be a great idea. I'd love to see it. There is one more thing I will mention. I will keep this video short, relatively short. But supposedly, I heard last season that when the Oilers decided to wear their navy blue third jersey for their designated home uniform in the playoffs last season, I heard that for this season, they were at one point considering making that the full-time home jersey, possibly with a new matching away, or maybe just making that the home jersey for a season and keeping their existing away until the change next season. But what the Oilers decided to do instead, obviously, was they kept their orange jersey as their home jersey for this season and left their uniforms alone, where their away and home stayed the same and their third jersey has also remained as well, which makes sense because, if they're going to be making the change anyway, I mean, even though I would prefer seeing the Oilers wear the navy blue at home more than the orange, at least for this season, I would have preferred that, because I do prefer the Oilers wearing blue. I think that should always be their main color, not their secondary. Yeah, it's for one more season, I can live with it, but the fact that the Oilers went to orange and they pushed this new orange and navy blue color scheme to mark some McDavid era, the quote-unquote McDavid era. I mean, I see where the Oilers were coming from trying to market it like that, but changing your uniforms, in my opinion, was not a good idea. It just, the orange jersey, even this current one, is nowhere near as good as the WHA jersey that preceded it back at the end of the Reebok era. I mean, in my opinion, they made two mistakes. Number one, they took the WHA uniform, brightened the orange, darkened the blue, made the striping match the 80s uniforms, and they downgraded it. And number two, they made the Edmonton Oilers an orange team first, which that was the biggest no-no of all, in my opinion, because, you know, to me, the Oilers always should be Alberta's blue team. They should always wear blue. I mean, I know Calgary wears red, but I always liked that about the Oilers too, where Calgary wears red, Edmonton wears blue. And if Edmonton wants to have an orange alternate, or if Calgary wants to have a black alternate, that's fine with me. But, you know, the Flames, they made that mistake for a couple of seasons in the early 2000s, switching from being a red team to a black team, or to a team with a primary black jersey instead, where they didn't even have a red jersey in their rotation for 2 seasons. And now the Oilers have been an orange team first. And I've never been a fan of that choice. And to hear that it's supposedly being rectified and the orange and navy era's coming to an end at the end of this season, I could not be happier. I'll keep this video short at 12 minutes. I don't think there's really more I need to discuss at this point. So feel free to comment down below. What do you think about this move? I'm all for it. I'm ecstatic. I wish that the Oilers never switched to these uniforms in the first place. I mean, if they wanted to bring in their current navy jersey as a third jersey, back when they did, while their home and away jerseys were the royal blue jerseys from the 80s, I would have been totally all right with that. But for them to go full-time orange and then to change the design to the orange and navy they got now, to me, it was a big mistake. I mean, if they wanted to bring in that orange jersey as a third jersey, that would have been fine with me too, but not as the full-time look. With that, folks, feel free to comment down below. What do you think of this uniform change, if this rumor's true? I'm all for it. Feel free to comment down below with your thoughts, and until my next video, you guys, as I always say, take care, and bye for now.